It is currently Halloween night. We're back home and I'm still jet lagged and I have some videos on my mind that I've been meaning to make. So here we go. This one, obviously, as you can tell from the title, high risk reward versus low risk reward, which is better for you personally, your personality, your psychology, and your P&L. Let's get right into this. So if you are anywhere on, I think I'm seeing it the most on TikTok by far, but if you're in the top ticking, the bottom ticking community, right? I'm sure we've all seen videos like this, but people who have executions, alleged executions, where, they are risking a relatively very small amount in order to catch a potentially very large move, something like this, right? For longs, you risk, 5, 10, 15 points maybe and look for like 100, and same thing vice versa. Congratulations, you are in the top/bottom ticking community. If not, you are probably more so something more like traditional, I would say, is something more like this, right? You're risking 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 risk to reward. That's, so you're risking $1 for every $2 in potential reward that you're going for. Something like this, which is, I would say, more normal. Like the whole top and bottom ticking shit, that's like new generation. It's like the LeBron versus the MJ, which is what you're seeing right here. Right. So I personally have done both ways. I've done the 1-to-1s, I've done the 1-to-2, 1-to-3, and more so recently, my best trade so far was a 1-to-23R, which was all taken on stream. I think I posted a video on that before, but whatever. So I've done both, right? I've done both the low RR as well as the high RR. So I have a few thoughts on first the psychological aspect of both of them. So what I always say when people ask me, like, what is your target risk reward, or like what is your goal risk reward per trade? And I always say the same exact thing. Don't worry about what I'm doing, right? I've been doing this for over 6 years at this point, almost 6.5. I have much more experience, a lot more time on the screens, and I understand how my brain and my psychological and how my psychology works, right? When I'm in a position. Don't worry about what works for me. Figure out what stresses you out the least. If you are comfortable risking, $100 in order to make 200, or risking $100 to make 100 potentially, then that's great, because the more calm you are in a position that's actively, you see the P&L moving up and down, you see you're making money, you're losing money. Whichever method helps you stay more calm, cool, and collected while you're seeing those numbers move, that is always what I would recommend more. So first of all, why do I generally recommend that if you are newer, you should be going with a lower risk to reward model? And it's very simple. The win rate is higher. Now, why does that matter if you are newer? So when you are a beginner, you probably don't have much confidence. You probably have never gotten a payout. Maybe you have never even passed an evaluation account, right? So you're still trying to build up that foundation of knowledge, but also more important, equally, maybe if not more importantly, your confidence in order to take a position, hold it, just follow a plan in general. You don't have that confidence yet. You don't have that experience yet of like having a feel for what the next move should be, right? You don't have the confidence. So seeing just L after L after L, just loss after loss after loss, seeing your stop get hit, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a row, like it happens to me sometimes because, like I said, the past 3 or 4 months I've been using this model. I've been getting stopped out much more than how often I would get stopped out with this model. All right, just because, like I said, I'm risking a very small amount of points and amount of dollars per position in return for a potential to make 5 or a 10x that amount that I'm risking. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'll be the first one to tell you this high risk reward model, it's great. However, you need to expect that you're going to be wrong and that you're going to get stopped out a lot more than if you're doing this model, the low risk reward. And I'll be the first to admit that my win rate is nowhere near what it was in the past with this model. But I'm okay with that because I understand the numbers game, which is, even if I'm wrong 4, 5, 6, even 10 times in a row, I just need to be right one time in order to wipe out all those losses and then still come out and profit and then still get a payout, and then still be able to justify this model financially. I will not keep using it if the results were booty cheeks. Like I switched over to it because I had been trading previously the same exact way for years and years, not years and years, but like several years, you get the point. And I saw someone else having a lot of success with this model and it was like learning something new and it ended up working, at least so far. However, like I said, I have been in this game for probably much longer than you have if you're watching this video, over almost 6.5 years. And I understand the numbers game that, even if I'm wrong a bunch of times, just need to be right once and it will all pay off. However, going back to the beginner scenario, like if I were newer or if you are newer, I would not suggest this on the left, okay? Just because, you don't have confidence, like I said. It's going to be hard for you to build confidence that you need if you just keep taking L after L. Like, it's hard to conceptualize, like, it's okay to be wrong. You're gonna be wrong a lot more than you will be with this model on the right. Like, I've had plenty of people who are like a month or 2 or 3 months in trying to like perfect this model, and they're coming to me and they're saying how, they get stopped out so many times. I'm like, brother, like, that is the model. You risk a very small amount in proportion to how much you are potentially going to make off of it if you are correct. It's a give and take, right? On the right side, you will be right a lot more times than you are wrong. So your win rate will look great. However, your average losing trade compared to your average winning trade, the numbers will be much closer. Like I said, you're risking $100 in order to potentially make 200. Versus on the left, like my average loser, 1/5 or like 1/4 of my average winner, right? Because on NQ, for example, my normal contract sizing on one account is 3 to 4 minis, right? However, I will run like a 5 to like 8 point stop loss on NQ. So, with 5 minis, for example, that is $500 or $800 because it's $100 per point with 5 minis. So I'm risking, just wrote it out here to make it a little more easily digestible. But my average, I would say like 5 NQ contracts is like the maximum sizing. I would say like 3 to 5, but whatever. For this example, just for the numbers. And say I'm in with 5 NQ contracts with a 5-point stop loss. That is $100 a point. So $500 of risk. Even if my average winner is 50 points, that is a 10 to 1, well, 1 to 10, whichever way you say it, 1 to 10 risk to reward. I'm risking 5 points in exchange to potentially make 50. So I'm risking $500. Meanwhile, if I'm correct, I will make $5,000. So just need to think of it as a numbers game. Like, no matter, and also you need to understand this, no matter which model you use, you're going to be wrong. So if you like emotionally, psychologically cannot accept the fact that you will be wrong, and especially if you're newer too, you're going to be wrong a lot. You are statistically almost certainly you're going to blow more accounts than you think you will. Okay. There are cases where people, they just have a natural skill or talent at doing this, and they pick it up very quickly. I wasn't one of those people. I don't know if you are. Hopefully you are, but odds are that you're probably not. So you're going to be wrong a lot more times than you think. You're going to have a lot more losing trades, a lot more red days, a lot more blown accounts, a lot more money spent to try to figure this out than what you probably have in mind, right? It's like in Rocky, man, like it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like statistically 98% of people fail at this game for a reason. Most people will never make a single dollar out of this, right? So you just need to remember that, need to understand that. If you can't wrap your head around the fact that you will be wrong a lot, you should probably do something else, if we're being honest. But yeah, like I said, long story short, if you're newer, I would say this: you're going to be emotionally, you will probably be better off seeing that you are right a lot more times than you're wrong. However, if you already know what you're doing to an extent and you want to try something new or learn a couple things or get some confluences out of this model, that can never hurt. So if you want to try that, then by all means, obviously go for it. That's how I'm trading currently, but it's not for everyone, like I always say. And there are always plenty of people on like the live trading streams that I do. There are always people who are like, they'll see me down some money, like $400 or $500, even $1,000. They're like, oh, you get stopped out so many times. Like, really, Peter? Like, you were wrong 3 times in a row, or you got stopped out 5 times in a row. I'm like, brother, like it's a numbers game, okay? And those people are always nowhere to be found when I am correct and my P&L is up $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on the stream. So you just need to understand that. I've been in this game long enough to understand prop firm accounts are a numbers game. As long as you are spending less money, as long as you are losing less money than you are making, then you are fine. Right? It sounds stupid, but a lot of people, it sounds like a no-brainer, but a lot of people tend to forget that for some reason. Common sense is not that common nowadays, unfortunately. So just keep that in mind. No matter whichever model you're going to use, you will be wrong a lot, especially in the beginning. But especially if you use this model, you are going to be wrong. Probably, more than half the time. But obviously, both can work, long story short, and just do what you think will be best and the easiest for your mental. And I promise you, don't worry about anything else. Don't do what I'm doing just because I'm doing it. I'm probably in a different position than you are. You are probably newer, and I'm trying to tell you what I wish I knew before. Hopefully that helps, guys. Appreciate it as always. I don't know, just kind of like firing off these little rambling videos. I don't know if they'll be helpful to anyone, but they'll be out there. Appreciate it very much. I'll see you in the next one.